Welcome back to a brand new episode of Private Parts with me, Liv Bentley. This is the podcast where nothing is off limits. And today I have a very special guest who hosts an amazing podcast called Luana and The Affair, and also a glorious dating therapist from Celebs Go Dating. It's Anna Williamson.
Liv.
Who's helped me through my dating experiences over the years.
Well, I think it's probably about time we had you back, isn't it, Liv?
I was about to say it's been 6 years and I'm still solidly single.
Well, I think it's time there's a show. Look, you know what we say, the door is always open.
You know what? I got the call up for it when you had Tristan on. One of the producers rang me.
I knew this, actually.
And then I was like, it just might end badly.
How could it possibly?
What, with me and one of my exes? Although I did do that for years on Made in Chelsea.
I mean, there's every chance. Although, honestly, Liv, I mean, this series, it's just coming to a close and it's very successful.
Has it? 'Cause
honestly, the calibre of people that we have had on, not just celebs, but the calibre of people that have come on to date have been exceptional.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, the list that I got shown was slightly fruity, to say it politely.
Actually, I remember you.
The man bun.
Yes. Do you know what? I'm not just saying this, Liv, because you know I absolutely adore you. You know we do. It's always Paul and I, the royal we. But I do absolutely adore you. But we'd love to have you back in the agency, and you were amazing with that.
Otto. I used to want to name my child Otto if I had a baby. Now I'm scarred because of that.
Do you know what? And it's really funny because my cousin went on to have a baby, which she called Otto. And every time I see little Otto, who is the little cherub boy, I think of Otto, the guy that you dated. And if you guys haven't seen that series, Liv, that was a masterclass in how you handle a date where it's not often, and you'll know this, that us agents will go, yeah, do you know what? We'll own that one. That we sorry about that. Sorry about that. But Otto was absolutely awful to you. No offence to Otto, I'm sure he's a lovely man, but to you on the date, it was just unacceptable.
It was unacceptable. And then when I actually watched it back, watching his interview afterwards really made it worse. Basically,
what did he say again? Bring us back to it, Liv.
So the date I walked in, it was fine. We sat there. He had a man bun, and I love guys with long hair.
Man buns are fine.
Man buns are
that wasn't my issue.
I quite like that kind of thing. Anyway, I sort of picked up that it might have been a fake bun because the way I was like, oh, how long's your hair? And he was like, he just didn't want to talk about it. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Anyway,
he really hungover?
So he was hungover.
I think that was where, as agents, we had the issue. It was more that he came in hungover, and he was just, I mean, he could not have been less arsed. And you looked lovely. You'd really made the effort. It's like basic level dating. And he really did, it wasn't good.
He just went, no, this is the expression. On. He said, well, I pumped her. And I went, sorry? I thought, what are you talking about? And then he said, yeah, we pumped. And he basically, which means slept with, which I was unaware of. And he basically said, if he doesn't sleep with a girl after the third date, he sacks her off. And I was like, right. And then he told another story, which I actually don't think was aired, about how he got some girl so drunk she'd wet herself. And then he sent her the bill for the laundry. And I was like, this is a lot. And then he said, no, I only like girls who are really fake, like boobs and lips. And there I was pre-Botox, and I obviously had a boob job. So I was like, okay, this is getting worse and worse. Then he asked for cordial in his gin and tonic. And I just thought, you fucking pussy. And I was like, I'm out. So I said I was going to get the loo, and then I legged it. And they have this shot of me running with my fake Hermes bag towards the river in my heels.
That's what I remember. And you know, and you will know, I mean, we do not advocate celebrities to leave dates. In fact, Sam Prince just got bollocked this week for doing it. But in that case, there are some exceptions. And I have to say, on that date, yeah, you were a lady as always.
Which is shocking.
And every time we were like, when we saw that footage back, we were like, oh, damn.
It was
okay.
Like the stuff coming out of his mouth. And then I always wonder sometimes.
Maybe he was having a bad day.
Well, let's fucking hope he was. But I always think sometimes, do these people realise they're on TV? Like, some people say things and I go, you know, this is being filmed. Anyway, then when
I don't think people do. I mean, like, obviously they know, but I think this is the beauty of Celebs Go Dating, is that, I mean, you celebs, most of you celebs, kind of, it's a career, you know, being in front of a camera. Not always, you know, not always, but I think that's what makes it really interesting, is because the non-celebs that come on to date, they're being filmed, but they don't behave in a certain way.
Because also the cameras aren't in your face, so actually it is very much like a real date.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
When it aired, he then said, "Oh, she obviously did a runner because she couldn't afford the drinks bill." I was like, "This is outrageous." It was shocking.
But if anyone could do, but this is why I love you and why we love you, Liv, because your reactions are just so brilliant. You're just like, okay.
Have you ever had any Have you ever had any celebs come on that have just behaved so appallingly you've had to say to them, listen, you can't continue?
I'm trying to think back now. We definitely... Oh, who have we had? There's been a couple over... I mean, I've been doing it 8 years now. So there's been hundreds of celebs now that have been on, whilst I've been running the ship with the guys. There's definitely been a few where we've gone like, do you know what? We're not quite sure whether this is the right process for you. I know that this, and you'll know him as well, Miles, who was on.
Yeah.
Him and Paul had a bit of a spat.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing this vaguely on social media. What actually had happened?
I'm trying to remember back. Oh, no, I'm very perimenopausal. My memory is awful.
You've just popped another child out, haven't you?
No, she's 6 now, but no, not another one.
That's the last
one. I know. Honestly, it's like because she happened just before COVID, and it's like I have like close friends of mine that think I have an 18-month-old. Seriously, and I'm like, no, she's going to be 6 at Christmas. But everyone sort of forgets
that is
her.
crazy.
The forgotten child.
Yeah.
But and also my head's so in the current series, which is just going to air. But Miles and Paul, I think Miles, from what I remember, Miles was just been rather egotistical and wasn't really owning. They were quite one-dimensional, his dates, from what I remember, and I remember Paul called him out for being self-absorbed, and it didn't go down very well, put it that way. Miles didn't like it, but I'll be honest. Fast forward, like everything is cool. Like we have a lot of time for Miles, and I think sometimes in those moments, those are what makes the show stand out, but also. You do know we hold people accountable,
Which because I remember saying, I think it was to Sam Prince when he asked me if I thought he should do it. At first, when I signed up, I was like, oh, it's just a bit of TV work. But actually, the therapy side of it was unbelievable because I learned so much about myself.
Oh, thank you. How well do you know Sam? Like
really well. Oh yeah, really well.
Because Sam, full disclosure, I wasn't that aware of Sam before he came on this series, and I've really enjoyed getting to know him. Actually, we had a couple of messages yesterday, just like like to check in so everyone's doing. Because Sam, as we very quickly picked up, gets a lot of heat on Chelsea.
People hate him, and everyone, even when he comes on here, people are always like, "Why have you got that knob on there?" I think because I know him so well,
I really like Sam.
He's actually really sweet, and I think what people forget is that TV is TV. It's not necessarily how things are in real life.
I'm a bit of a mama bear, as you know, and I feel, it's quite interesting, this series, that actually the dressing downs that Sam has got has actually come from me. But they come from it's me dressing downs. They come from always come from a place of love. But I think particularly with Sam, probably to your point, he's actually a really sweet guy, and I really enjoy getting to know him. And he really did get vulnerable. He cried in our consultation, and which he didn't think he would do. And I think, to your point,
he did, actually.
And a lot of people do come onto the show thinking, I'm not going to give him everything. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to keep my walls up.
I think I cried, actually.
Yeah, I think you did. Most people do.
Fresh out of the breakup. Oh, that was after Digby.
But it's important, I think. As well, and Sam knows now, and all the other celebs know that what we do for a living, we do off camera. That's for real. So when people come on the show, they don't get treated any differently as opposed to whether you're famous or you're not famous. You're here to. Well, it's firstly establish why you're here.
Yeah. No, because I actually got into message when I then dated Tristan. We were having issues, and I would actually message Paul. Did I even message? I think I probably messaged you as well, wanting advice. Probably needing couples therapy. Anyway, we ended that one.
I think you did. Yeah,
it's probably
How
the best.
are you interested now? Are you like?
I don't really. Because I'm not on Chelsea anymore. So I see him on the rarest of occasions, but we're not. I wouldn't class us as friends really. But no, there's no bad blood.
But there's no bad blood.
No, Digby I see a lot. Because I'm chummy with most of my exes. I never had really nasty sort of breakups or anything.
I think that's a really good character trait, actually.
But do you? Because we were talking about this earlier. Do you think it's normal to be sort of friends with exes? Or how should one... I suppose it does depend on the time gap, but like...
Look, I think it all depends on the person. I am very good friends with one of my exes from years ago. Yeah. And to your point there on time, I think a lot of it's about time and respect, respecting of new partners that come into the equation. But absolutely, you can still be friends with an ex. I mean, at the bedrock of relationships or romantic relationships, it's friendship, it's connectivity. The only thing that differentiates it from being different to it being a romantic relationship is sex.
Yeah.
You know, and you can definitely have sex with someone and then stop having sex with someone, but then really love being with them and really enjoy them as a person. Like one of my exes, I mean, it was years ago, 15 years ago, we were in a relationship for a good couple of years, and then just realised that actually the dynamic of our relationship had changed and it was more friendship, more brother sisterly. That sounds a bit weird, but we deeply cared about each other.
Yeah.
And it was a really interesting transition to go from physically we don't want to be together, which is essentially what this is. You know, we don't want to be in a romantic sexual relationship anymore, but we also don't want to not be in each other's lives. And we did have a period of kind of, we'd lost a bit of touch just out of respect for letting a relationship breathe and grieve it and deal with the transition of that. And then we both went on to get different partners.
Does your current partner ever have a problem with it, that you were friends with your ex?
No. And his partner, she's amazing. Like, she's just amazing. I mean, like, I properly fangirl her. No, but I think there's always been huge respect around you know, the purity of those relationships. You know, and I think I only ever once had a conversation, probably half pissed, and just sort of said, just want to be really clear that I have no feelings towards him. It's just a really great guy, and you two are an amazing couple. And
what a fucking mature way to handle that.
Yeah,
I mean, that is great, isn't it?
Well, it is. I mean, and to your point, when you say, is it normal? I think, you know, the definition of normal is very personal. I mean, actually, it's your functioning level. So, I mean, other exes of mine are complete knobs, and I wouldn't want to ever see them ever again. You know,
some of mine definitely go in that box.
Yeah, one of mine was narcissistic, coercive, controlling, absolute bellend, and I don't wish to go back there. I wish him well. Do I?
I be honest. This wish them well. It can fuck itself. I don't wish a lot of people well.
No, I'm going to be honest with you, Liv. No, I just go away. Really, it's like just do you. You know, do your life. Just do it away from me.
I want to talk about this. Doing you.
You do you. Oh yeah.
I quite like. So explain what is this?
Oh, you do you. So I mean, this is with my sort of, you know, life coach hat on, and it's taken me 44 years to just be unapologetically myself.
Right.
And I just, more and more that I do the work in therapy and coaching on the telly, all my other outlets, my podcasting, Luana, you know, we have an enormous following there.
Can I tell you something? That podcast has me in fucking stitches. Some of the stuff that people write in, you couldn't make up.
No, you
There
really
was
can't.
one you did. I don't know if I can even speak about it. It was a woman who was talking about when she does a poo.
And we have a lot of these.
I don't know if we can talk, and uses her other stuff to clean her ass. I'll have to tell you after this because I can't even say the word.
I mean, the fact that you can't even say it on your podcast and yet we can on mine.
No, you can't.
Just shows how repulsive mine is.
I know, I probably could say it on it. Because she uses her discharge to... Yeah.
See, why does it sound even more revolting when you say it?
I know, what do you...
I know. I think when you're in Luana land, you sort of forget that we are just anything goes. I mean, I'll be honest, it's opened my eyes. And this was
shocked you.
Yeah, can I also just say as well, when we went into concept, you know, of how we're going to do this podcast nearly 8 years ago, this was not on the table. We didn't say, let's get in every single vulgar story that exists to mankind and bring it on our podcast.
People obviously feel the need to discuss it with you.
Very comfortable. And I think what ended up happening with Louisa and I, and so this does fit into the you do you method, which is just something it's very, very simple. It's just really is, how much do we bullshit and just kind of, we say yes to the things we don't want to say yes to.
Yes.
We wear the shit we don't want to wear because like someone in a magazine tells you that that's what's in fashion this month, but actually you look like shit in it. Like there's so many jeans out there that I just look like shit. I'm going to put it out there. I like a skinny jean.
Oh, I fucking love a skinny jean. I posted one the other day on Instagram and I got trolled saying those aren't a thing anymore. I was like, I'm going to wear them.
I love a skinny jean. I don't like the barrel jeans and the mum jeans. I look like a tosser. I just want to wear a fucking skinny jean and a boot.
No, I'm so with you.
Yeah, I know I'm stuck in 1996. And I think this, I don't like hen dos. I don't want to go on a hen do. It doesn't mean I don't love the person that has invited me to the hen do, and I'm not grateful to go to the hen do. And there are some things in life that you do have to do just to be a nice person. Yeah. I do appreciate that. But if there are other ways of doing it, like say, do you know what? I'm going to be honest. I just really don't want to travel all that way, and I can't, I'm tired, I'm this, I hate being around people I don't know, I don't want to be doing that, is there another way I can show you how much I love you, by buying you a gift, taking you out, or just something. And I think you have to be very careful that this doesn't come across as being selfish, because I absolutely don't agree with that. I think we do teeter a little bit now with kind of empowerment around actually being quite selfish, which can be a good thing, but to a point, just go, no, fuck everyone, I'll just do what I want. I don't think is possibly quite the right message I'm trying to get out. What I am trying to say is you do you, in a sense of with the jeans, just because everybody's telling you, just if you like wearing them and they look better on your figure, just wear it. You do you.
But it is mental how people get so sucked into what's going on out there that everyone thinks they have to follow some trend. But no,
going out and things like going out in the evenings and having to go to that place. I like going to bed at 8:30.
Oh, I'm in bed by 9. I know it's my favourite thing. But we said this the other day. I was doing the podcast, and someone said, "What's the difference about when you're in your 30s?" I'm only 31. But my thing is being selfish with my time, because I realised crap I would go to and sit there hating the people, the same conversations. It's like every night out blurred into one, and I was like, all I'm doing is wasting my own time. And so saying no to that kind of thing, not being the yes person all the time.
And that's really what it is. And actually, I had a few sort of epiphanies. I don't know whether it's age now. I think my professional work has played into this, but also, and this does sound a little bit kind of macabre, but losing a few people that I really love, some people that have gone before their time, and you just think, Christ, it really is that, finite. When you've gone, you've gone. And like, I've had a couple of people I really love that have sadly passed away. And I just think, God, to your point, Liv, why suffer the shit that you just don't actually really want to do? And it's asking yourself, why am I doing this? For who am I doing this? Some things you do have to, I'm a mum. I have to be really unselfish a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But there are some things where you can just reevaluate it and go, actually, who am I doing this for? And I think that goes down to what you do with your spare time. Time is absolutely key. Yeah. Your interests, your hobbies. I like listening to Elaine Page Musicals Hour on Radio 2 on a Sunday. I've said it. It's not cool, but then whose definition of cool is that? Yeah. Everyone has their tribe. And I think what I realise now in my wizened old perimenopausal age is actually the catharsism in just being unapologetically myself. And if you or my best friend or some troll thinks I'm a sado because I like Elaine Page and I wear a skinny jean, okay, great, you can have an opinion. It's not your problem. They can... You do you, I'm doing me, and I would much rather be wearing a skinny jean listening to Elaine Page than wearing a barrel jean being uncomfortable. Techno rave. Yeah, exactly, with a seam up my vag and listening, exactly, to something I don't like, because that's not fun.
I really rate this. I'm really big on all this. I think it's, but I don't know, also I think because of doing years of like, not TV, but just constantly being at social, I think also people, when you're single, it's not harder to say no to things, but you end up saying yes to a lot of things because you're sort of filling your time. Yeah. But actually, they're not that enjoyable.
And is that because you don't like spending time by yourself?
No, I love spending time. I prefer spending time by myself now, Wonderful. To be honest.
So why are you saying, what are you saying yes to and why?
Well, I think it was more just the like not sitting at home alone, trying to actually get out and do stuff. But I'm quite complacent in just doing my own thing. I like doing my own thing. And not always sort of being sociable. I've become antisocial, I think, actually.
I think that, again, plays into you doing you. Yeah. If that's where you get your energy, introverts, extroverts. I'm actually an introvert. I love being by... You are. If that's where you get... That is the definition of it. It's where you get your energy from. Some people like absolutely thrive by being around other people and get their energy from being around other people. My husband, for example, but when you meet my husband, you think, God, he's a real introvert because he's quite quiet. He's like the yin to my yang. I'm the loud, gobby one. He's the more kind of staid one. And yet, actually, I'm the one that craves my own time. Oh, Christ, I could go on holiday by myself for a month. But he gets his energy from being around people. That's where he, So I think, again, just be really real with yourself. And that's why when I started talking about the you do you method, it's really simple. It's just, what do I actually want to do and why? And I think so many of us fall into the trap of life, of just saying yes to stuff because it's habit. And I think we all need to just take a pause and reevaluate, because life's always evolving. We're always going through different things. And I think that is also how you keep really good mental and emotional and physical well-being, just by recalibrating and knowing what you want in that moment.
Do you think social media's had a big impact on people's sort of outlook on things like that? As in, because if you're sitting watching people do different things, it sort of encourages you to think you should be doing that.
Well, as in overachieving.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, we both know, we're so ingrained in the world of social media to know that it's a highlights reel, and I encourage people to see it as that.
Yeah.
I think social media is brilliant, and I think it's. But I think what's really important with it is curating your own algorithms, your own channels on what actually does inspire you and what you want to see.
Yeah.
But it definitely has, on sort of generally speaking, I think had a huge impact on people measuring themselves against other people, feeling like they need to be in that certain place, looking that certain way. And that comes in, and you must get this particularly with Chelsea, actually. Chelsea is so aspirational for a lot of people, in their 20s. They look up to you guys on Chelsea and they think, oh my God, that's the life I want to live.
If only they knew the half of it.
Well, but this is it. Well, but do you feel that? Do you actually feel? Does that make its way to the cast? Because I know that with non-celebs, but in their 20s, that they are absolutely looking at the Chelseas, you guys, for what you're wearing, where you're going, and they're trying to emulate that. They're all living beyond their means financially as well, because they're all living off credit cards because they want to be in, that particular bar. And I'm thinking, Christ, babe, I have a good job and I can't do that.
But I think where I actually struggle is that my life would look a certain way. It's absolutely not like that. And I think where I actually would get frustrated sometimes, I'm one of 5 kids.
I forgot that.
I know, for all 5 of us, it's a lot. We never had handouts or anything like that. We were all age 16, phone bills. I mean, yes, we had an amazing place to live. We grew up, had like an amazing childhood. Yeah. But I don't get given anything. Like, we don't get money from my parents. Like, I actually had to really work. Like, I worked in the garden centre making quiches for a very long time, and I loved it. So I get frustrated, I think, when people assume that I sort of live off daddy's credit card, which I don't. And then obviously now I have a business, which was not funded by my parents. It was completely by myself. So that side of it, that's
the stereotype, isn't it? You come from Chelsea, you've come on a reality show, Chelsea,
and I sound like a posh twat. It's not like
you're accent, but again, that's it's an unfair stereotype, isn't it? And we all do make snap judgment calls. Everybody does. But I know you, and that's why I'm extremely proud of you. And I think you're brilliant, because you're a good egg, and you've got good work ethic. You always have, and I think there is no coincidence when people have longevity in this industry, and you are one of them. So many people just crash and burn, and I think it's people in this industry that lose their head. They haven't got grounding. They don't have the stability. They don't have the stable structure around them, the family, which you have, clearly good work ethic.
I think it's really sad that, because you do hear these stories, some people like sort of come off these shows, have loads of followers, make a load of cash, and then it just ends so quickly and so badly.
And it really saddens me. And I get a lot of people actually that are at that point that get in touch with me needing help from a therapy level. And I think that's why over the years as well with Celebs Go Dating, us as dating coach, myself, Paul, Dr. Tara, who joined us a few series ago.
She joined after I was there.
Yes, she did. Yeah, she's brilliant. She's like the saucy little sis. But we really do care about people, and I think particularly we have a bit of an unusual lens, I think, within the industry of celebrity, because there aren't that many celebrity shows. Or any, actually, if I think about it, that actually do go through a sort of coaching and therapy process.
No, there aren't any. That's what was so amazing about it. My favourite part of the show was coming in to see you two.
Thank you.
I remember having a hot flush one day. My wig was sweating. I was like, I need to get out of here because I thought it was going to be sick. And I think it was the day I was going to cry. Also, why was I wearing all those wigs? But no, I found that side.
Wigs. Yeah, you were in your wig phase there.
I know, no more of that. But no, that I found all really fascinating. I recently actually started having therapy. Just generally, I think I should have had it a really long time ago, like pre-Chelsea, beginning of Chelsea days. But it's I think it's amazing.
It is. I'm really well done. I'm really pleased that you're doing it. I have therapy. We all do. Everyone has therapy. Therapists have therapists. It never stops. It's so important.
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate of it, and certainly for early intervention and prevention better than cure. We all have so much stuff going on in our brains and in our minds and in our lives, and no one ever reaches a point, I believe, of sort of being cured.
No,
there is no such thing. Life is so multi-layered. And
it's hard. I do actually think life is hard.
Life is really hard. It's hard, and which is why I'm such an advocate of bringing in as many support structures as you possibly can. If you're blessed enough to have a family around you, or good friends, good colleagues, at the very least, accessing different charities or agencies or private therapy to have that extra support, because carrying the mental load for anybody is so much. My God, I carry such a mental load. If I didn't go, I have, just as a therapist, I'm professionally regulated, so I have to have monthly supervision. And any therapist that has supervision will always tell you, we all live for supervision. Like, we love it. It's basically where you go in to your supervisor and you offload all your
everything.
Your, any of your clients, things that you want to talk about, anything that's going on in your life. It's just to help keep you regulated. It makes sense.
Do you ever find it hard? Have you ever had like a client that's triggered something in you and you find hard to switch off about, or something ever has it?
And that's why supervision is really important, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how well trained you are as a therapist. It doesn't matter how many case studies you have, how many clients you've been through. You're human, and all it takes is for something to happen on a low day, or just any day, or a particular client presents something that, didn't know that was going to, touch me. For example, something for me around coercive control is a big one, because I was in a controlling relationship, in a psychologically abusive relationship. I work with many, many people in that situation, but sometimes, you just feel it's just touched a little point in you. Grief's also a really big one as well, dealing with complex grief. But that is the beauty of supervision, but also of this is why it's so important to have all that training, because you learn to recognize your own capabilities and your own vulnerabilities, which is why, myself and Paul, for example, always banging on about, I'm not being vulnerable, but it is really important, because a part of the training of going into talking therapy work, part of the training is having to be really introspective, and being really honest and vulnerable and authentic about everything that you've experienced in life and continue to. And a key part of it as well is recognizing when a particular client actually isn't something that's going to be beneficial for you, that you need to pass on. So recognizing when to pass on a client is really important too.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought you just sort of had to take one on.
Hell no, God no.
Really?
No, absolutely. So, I mean, I practice, it's called UPR, unconditional positive regard, but equally at the same time, I have a value system that I live by, and it can be very difficult sometimes to, if you work with a client, or clients come to you and they are presenting something that really does go against your value system. So, for example, let's say I was in an abusive relationship. Let's say I take on a client and then they...
the abuser.
Right, exactly. Or that comes up in it. Now, I can handle that, but I equally have to be honest with myself if I can handle that. Yeah. And if at any point I feel that actually this is a topic that I don't think I can confidently and in an unbiased way move that client into what they want to get from the sessions, I need to pass that on. And that's where supervision comes in as well, where you have that sounding board to be able to talk through any challenges you might be having with particular clients, or maybe it is a me issue. Do you know what I mean? So that's why it's really important.
Have you ever, I know obviously therapy is all confidential, how does it work? Say someone comes to you and admits to something that's probably illegal or not illegal, but things like domestic abuse. Can you report that, or how does it work?
That is a great question, actually. Essentially, if it happens in therapy, it's client confidentiality. I mean, I've never had anyone that has disclosed anything that is illegal, thankfully. But I guess, it does come down to a moral judgment on that. With children, so I'm still a childline ambassador, NSPCC ambassador, but I used to be a childline counsellor as well on the phones. And we would only ever breach a child's confidence if the person because everything is confidential there as well. And we would always do it as best you can with the young person understanding why you needed to breach. But if perhaps they were reporting a person, an adult in position of power, like a teacher or something like that. Yeah. So it's, there's a lot of red tape around when you would breach. I mean, I'm fortunately in a position I've never had anyone actually disclose anything illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. Yeah. It's a lot, isn't it?
It's crazy, isn't it? Because so I just this is where my brain was just going, because I was just thinking of priests.
No, I know, in the confession rooms.
Yeah, confession rooms.
How they keep their mouths shut.
Yeah,
I'd love to be a part of
Yeah, because it's true, they don't. Because my kids go to Catholic school, and I know I was thinking that about my son's just recently done his first Holy Communion thing, and we were talking a lot about confession, and I know we got onto that sort of subject of, so if you really did do something really bad and you told the priest, and it was like, well, no, the priest can't say anything,
That's a lot for them. You can't put that on some poor vicar. He'll be mincing around the church, not knowing what to do with himself. Do you do you do a lot of couples therapy?
Yeah, I do couples, yeah. I mean, couples therapy is fascinating. I mean, at the moment, I'm not practicing as much as I used to, just because the workload is phenomenal. But yeah, I do, yeah. And I've had many famous couples.
Because I just realised before I came on, Digby and I were going to come on as a couple. And then there was obviously the dumping, and I came on by myself. But no, because I was going to say, what is there like a common issue that seems to crop up a lot across the board with couples, or is it always something completely different?
I mean, there are definitely themes that are running. I would say first and foremost, it's communication issues.
Yes, this is one big thing my sweet therapist discussed with me, is to talk. But I did such an odd thing.
Well, actually, it's also to listen.
Yeah.
And this is also what's really key. Effective communication is glaringly missing from a lot of relationships. And the thing to remember is that no one teaches you how to be in a relationship. And also to remember that it doesn't matter whether you and that relationship you're in do get it nailed. Finally you figure out each other's, communication preference, how each other, you're nailing the listening and the hearing and the talking thing. And then you break up and you've got to get a new partner. You start all over again. It's a different person with different experiences, different childhood, different everything.
That's what I was saying the other day, actually, because the older you get, the more you date. When you're dating someone else, there's a lot more baggage on the line than there was when you were younger. So you've got to take on board your own stuff and then also their stuff. So it does make it harder. Because I think, for me personally, breakups are not easy. I don't know. I mean, I struggle with them a lot. I can't stand them.
No one loves a breakup.
But some people find them fucking easy. And I'm sitting there broken. But I realised that it's hard.
Are you the dumper or the dumpy?
I have actually never been dumped. That is not meant like that, but I think I've always ended relationships.
No, that's just being honest.
Because my two big ones were Digby and Tristan, and they were not TV relationships because they were real relationships. But I then don't think I knew how to have a real relationship, because with those there was obviously a producer and it was filmed and there was cast members saying different things. So it wasn't actually. I really struggled then when I got into my next. Not really struggled, but it was weird trying to work the new relationship that wasn't in TV.
I'm curious to know, how do those relationships work when the cameras aren't rolling? Because I think this is always a huge challenge for reality stars that have TV relationships, which are real.
Yeah.
But there is an element of pressure to have to display it in public. But how does it work? And I always say this, whenever I've had couples in that have been on reality shows, and I have had many couples that have been on various reality shows, and I'm really, really strict and clear with them on having to calm out the us time, the private time.
Yeah.
And at what cost? Because by keeping some things private can sometimes be catastrophic for their public profile. There is a trade-off on that, and it really is a difficult one, but a very important decision to see how big that and actually most of the relationships, the couples have not lasted because actually putting the work in without any cameras or headlines or paps or anything around hasn't actually served them in the end. They're still on their trajectory of being in the reality world, and there's no shade on that. They're not in the right space.
It's a really hard decision. Actually, I found it really hard juggling the relationship and I suppose my sort of TV career. And that's where actually my relationships were bad, because I would not behave a certain way, but there was this sort of persona that I had on Made in Chelsea. And then when I get into a relationship, I don't think the guys that I were with could understand or liked this person that I sort of was on TV. And then behind closed doors at home, I was completely different, and I was very calm, very chilled. But then because I enjoyed doing TV, I would say shit that you probably shouldn't say, or do different things that would then wind them up. Not deliberately, it was just very complicated. And actually, I think, I don't know. I don't think with either one of them, if we had left TV and tried to live a quiet life, it would have worked. We were actually wrong for each other. But I mean, I do know a lot of people who were on TV who do end up leaving the entire industry because they prioritize their relationship for it. But it's hard to juggle. Like, I think that's another thing. Well, I've struggled. Well, this is more not just necessarily about TV, but is juggling relationships and careers. But especially when you are in this industry, it's so demanding and there's so many different things and everything's so last minute and you've got to do this and do that, and it's not easy.
No, it's not. But I think it comes down to trying to take that step back, trying to create some boundaries, which is always important in relationships. But equally, I see and I know what it's like in this industry. You know, it is constantly fast-paced, constantly changing, constantly trying to stay up there. You know, and trying to stay relevant.
Fight, or the whole time, everyone trying to right.
Everyone is jumping on each other's coattails, you know, to stay up there. And I think it is very difficult to sustain a relationship whilst being in the reality world.
I mean, I don't know how those. I mean, it's different. Made in Chelsea slightly different, but the Love Island couples who come off those shows having to. The pressure of that. I think with Made in Chelsea, I always felt it wasn't really the pressure. It was just I never had smooth sailing in a relationship. And I don't know if that was because of it being on TV or because of who I was with or who I was at the time.
Well, I think you've also identified a bit there. You've just said that to me, because what I was hearing is that you put on a different, you know, there was an elevated persona when you were on the telly, when the cameras were rolling versus at home. So that's incongruent, you know, and that's going to be difficult to manage unless you are with somebody that's able to
have my 25 personalities.
Yeah, but equally, I would then also assume that they were also on the telly. So equally, they had the same stakes at play as well. So it's very, very difficult. And I think this is where relationships, they are all about compromise. Relationships are hard work. They're also wonderful and fantastic, but we have to keep prioritizing each other all the time. You know, I've been married 10 years next month, and, you know, it's very sweet. Some people say, oh, you know, you guys, you know, couple goals, whatever. I'm like, are you joking me? You know, are you joking? Like, my husband and I, we've been through the mill and back over 10 years.
How do you keep
nearly
it good?
Divorced twice.
What's your advice? What's your to maintain something healthy and strong that does
You have to prioritise each other.
Do you do date night and stuff?
Yes. In fact, funnily enough, we're trying to organise one for tomorrow because we've had the kids. Well, only because we've had the kids. Right, we're in the middle of a house renovation. Relationship killer. Also bank balance killer. But we've had the kids off for school for the last 6 weeks. We don't have a nanny or anything like that. Childcare, we juggle the childcare together, you know, which we do pretty well. But we are threadbare, Liv. I'm not going to lie. We're threadbare. We can't be asked to have sex. And we would quite like to have sex.
I should have bought my Jomo.
Should have bought your Jomo.
I'm going to send you Jomo and Mojo.
Bring the Jomo.
I will.
And I said to him, and we said to each other, literally yesterday, we were like, because the kids are getting a bit older now as well. And I said, you know what? We really need to go out for the night. And he was like, yeah, we really do. He was like, can we get your parents to look after, have a sleepover with the kids? I was like, yeah, let's do that. I said, let's just go into town. Let's go and get pissed. Eat really good food. Let's go and get a hotel. Let's go and have some sex. Like, let's just pretend, not pretend. Let's actually just be adults again. Because I said, we're great when we're together. Like, we love each other. But honestly, my husband and I do have recently, you know, over the last recent years, had these real moments of, it sounds a bit cheesy, but we're really proud that we're still hanging in there, because either of us could have thrown the towel in so many times, because what no one tells you when you get married, and then particularly when you have children as well, is that shit is going to test you every single day, left, right and centre. You know, you throw in, you know, PMT into the mix, a bit of stress over there, a bit of, well, you know, you've left your shoes over there, we haven't got any childcare on this day, I want to work, no, you're working, no, I want, you know, career, the career juggle, the who's more important, you know, it's just a lot. And then you throw into it, you know, my father-in-law died, you know, grief's absolute bitch to deal with, as well. Life is difficult, and then you do get to a point, and I think because nowadays, which is a good thing, I'm very pro-divorce. If a relationship is terrible and you should never stay in a relationship for the sake of it that's unsafe, where you're disrespected, feeling respected is a base level, need and requirement in a relationship. So totally, if you're not in that kind of relationship, I was not in that relationship years ago when I was in a controlling one, get the hell out. And that's brilliant now that we can leave relationships so much easier. But equally, I think we need to be careful that we also don't throw the towel in too quickly.
Yeah.
And I think there is also that tendency, because it is easy to throw the towel in now. One in two, divorce.
A lot of my friends are getting divorced.
Right.
And they've only been,
and there's a lot that can be done. It's why I created a coaching platform called The Relationship Place, which is really easy, because I can't coach everybody, who slide into my DMs, and I wish I could. So I wanted to just kind of give a blanket sort of stage one, a bit like on Celebs Go Dating, kind of a bit of a stage one, look, try this first, if you're arguing all the time, you don't want to have sex, you're, worried about, are they cheating on you, do you stay, do you go, looking at all the kind of main issues. And I think you asked me a little while ago about kind of what the main issues are with is communication and also arguing. If you try, the first thing I say to people is just stop thinking that one of you needs to win an argument, because it never ever works. And I think that's the biggest thing that my husband and I have learned, is to stop trying to win. Yeah. Just accept how each other feels, how each other thinks. My husband and I have a terrible argument styles, really. He's a protester and I'm a withdrawer. So protest and withdraw. He's Mediterranean. He's a now this is often the thing as well in relationships that I've learned. Often the thing that you've fallen in love with that person in the first place
is what you end up falling out of
is what you learned and what you begin to weaponize them for when things start to get tough.
That's so funny that you say that, because I have broken up with exes over what we fell in love because of, which is so interesting.
Right, and this is a big thing. This is what often I say to people in couples therapy, which is why a reason to get them back to doing some positive change work, to figure out if this relationship can get back on track, is to go back to that key moment when you fell in love, or that first defining moment, your first date, your wedding day, whatever it might be, to get rid of all the noise and the crap and the resentment and the contempt and all of that bullshit that's kicked in, and get back to the nubbins of it. And my husband and I had to go through that journey about 18 months ago, because we were at loggerheads, because 10 years in, 2 kids in, but we're both busy with our careers, we're both very headstrong. Now, what it came down to, I actually fell in love with my husband because he's no pushover. I need someone who challenges me. I cannot go out with a wet fart. I just can't. Now, here I found this very handsome man who is Sicilian, and family values is what we bonded over. He's very romantic when he wants to be. Shade. Very, very compassionate, but he's so loyal. And this is the thing. He is so loyal. He is so trusting. He has never, ever, ever once displayed anything for me to not trust him. So all the key things I was looking for in a guy. And also, boundaried, holds me accountable. Everything that I preach to other people they should be looking for. He's
giving it all.
Yeah, I'm giving it. But then, when I'm trying to basically get away with everything I want to do, because I was trying to live, when I want to live my independent life, not an interdependent life, which is a couple relationship, I then get stroppy, because I'm like, oh, well, it's like, well, no, can we think about this? I'm like, and I start getting shitty about it, thinking, well, why is he not just saying yes? Why is he just not a yes man? And it's that, it's like weaponizing then the thing that you actually loved about him was like, no, he's principled and boundary and values being in a couple. And the same thing that he recognized. He loved the fact that I was independent, I was career, I'm family, I'm bright, I'm sunny, I'm loud and gobby, that extrovert that he gets the energy from. And yet behind closed doors, Anna's too much. She's never around. I don't feel like got much time for me, And so suddenly
That's so interesting when you think about it like that.
Yeah, and then suddenly you're weaponizing each other for the things you actually fell in love with them about.
Yeah.
And then when you come back to that circle and start to really respect each other for those values and who they are, magic starts to happen and you start to actually come back together again.
On that respect thing, do you think once you have lost respect for your partner, you can get it back again?
I think it depends what it is.
Well, let's get on. Why did you laugh?
Asking for a friend, Liv.
And asking for a friend. No, because I think this is a really awful thing to admit. I can't keep saying the guy I'm with. Anyway, 2 exes in the past, I lost respect. I think my issue was I lost respect for them, which is why the relationships had to end.
But why? As in, did they do something bad, or you just got the ick?
I think I got the ick, and then I just couldn't come back from it. I think I tried to really force it coming back, but I just couldn't. But no, I was thinking of, I was reading something the other day, and it was how affairs, people cheating, which you've obviously got a podcast on, which is called Affairs. How some affairs have either helped a lot of people's marriages, which I can't get my head around, but I know people in relationships, one of them has had an affair and they got back together. I personally don't think I could respect that person if I knew they'd done that to me. But I sort of, how... I don't know. I forgot where I was going with this.
No, but that it's very, very personal, I think, is what you're saying, and I think this is why. I've been working on this concept around infidelity for about 2 years, and looking at different ways that I wanted to bring infidelity and affairs to the masses, because I hear about it a lot behind closed doors. And I was working with an amazing friend of mine called Naomi. He's an incredible producer and podcaster as well. And we started working on this passion project, which we then called The Affair. Great, there you go, does what it says on the tin. And this was based on the stat that 1 in 5 people admit to having had an affair. And yet most people don't talk about it. It's a very lonely place for obvious reasons. There's a lot of shame involved in it, a lot of guilt, a lot of secrecy. That is an affair. It's secrecy. An affair is not... polyamory, it's not just, having consensual, multiple partners as a whole, an affair is defined by it being secretive and shady. But there is not one size fits all. And what I wanted to do was bring the stories of the 3 typical protagonists involved in an affair to life for people to hear the real stories in a very real way that wasn't sort of broken down in therapy speak or I wanted, because it is so nuanced and it isn't just the Hollywood stereotype, of an affair, Scarlet Harlot,
I think there's
fuckboy guy,
so much to it.
There's so much. Now there is that, and I think huge caveat here, I do not condone infidelity. I do not condone cheating. The whole point of this podcast as well is to really think about it before you go down that route, because I'm yet to have experienced a case study where some form of destruction and emotional ruin hasn't happened.
I don't understand how people, but I find it slightly baffling that people are able to do all this and move on and still not hold any form of resentment. I'd never get over it.
Right. So I hear you. And I think that's why I wanted to bring some of those stories to life. So I've just finished series 2, got series 3 coming up. So
you're up for an award for it, aren't
you?
So
it's just been nominated.
This is amazing.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, for best relationships podcast. For British Podcast Award, which I was amazed at. But it went mad the minute it dropped. And this is the thing, the messages I've had from people. Is exactly why I wanted to do it, to be curious around infidelity. You will form your own judgment and your own opinion. My role on this is not to be a therapist. My role is as a therapist and as a coach, but is to facilitate conversation. Some of those conversations are difficult and I know jar people. Some people have found it really cathartic. So you will either hear from, and many of my guests that have come on to share their story, and I think by the art of doing a podcast, it can be anonymized, which has also really helped. So it's either the person who's had the affair, the person who's been cheated on, or the person who is the affair or has been the affair. And looking at all the reasons, the understandings, the journey around what went on for that, or what is still going on for some of them. Now, to your point, I did have a couple of people, I have had a couple over the last couple of series who've come on and they have got through the affairs to be in a place where they say their relationship is now better than it's ever been. And now that isn't to say they've just gone, oh yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, you've just been, shagging someone else, off we go. Absolutely not. They've been through hell and back and they've done the work. But they have recognised in these couple of situations that their relationship started in a really shit place where they weren't didn't have the communication, they hadn't set boundaries, they hadn't looked at what their long-term goals were, they hadn't dealt with repressed trauma, the reasons why someone was seeking an affair. And actually, this is just my anecdotal research, but the main reason why people have been seeking affairs hasn't been sex, it's been an emotional connection.
Yeah, because I was, we were speaking about this recently, and I was saying, I think when women cheat, it seems to be that they're lacking something at home that they're trying to look for emotionally somewhere else. I don't know if that's like men
that has been the majority of case studies in which I get, but also for men too. I mean, statistically, men do cheat more than women, but only just now. That used to be a lot of a wider gap. Now it's almost on a par.
In a sexual way or in a sort of more emotional way?
Well, both. I think how anyone defines an affair is down to the individual.
But men, I mean, would they be more likely to cheat
physical.
for it? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, and lots of people talk about this, it's just an emotional affair. I didn't have sex.
I think that's worse. And actually, I admitted to this. I was in a relationship, and I was not getting. It was awful. Actually, it was a really horrific relationship. And I messaged a guy that I once did have a thing with, and just because he was supporting me emotionally, and I remember telling my mum, and she was like, "That actually is cheating," and I was like, "Yeah, no, it probably is."
Well, it depends on how you define it, and I think again through talking about it, it's down to what one constitutes. And I think if it's you're sharing intimate information that you should be sharing with your partner, then in my definition of it, that constitutes cheating. Because some people try and justify it, an emotional affair, for example, they're messaging someone, but they're telling them all this, they're telling them all their, worries and secrets, and, even sometimes not even sexually, sometimes not even sexual.
I always think if you wouldn't want your boyfriend or your girlfriend to see those messages, don't fucking send them. Right. Only because I actually had such anxiety after I did this one thing. It was one message, I remember. I think I just said I was really unhappy or something stupid.
Right.
And then yeah.
And this is it, and it can be devastating to and destroy trust. Destroy trust. Trust can be destroyed in seconds, but it takes a lifetime to build. And actually, one of my exes destroyed my trust in literally that moment too, where long-term relationships. This is before I'd got married. It was a good relationship, but I wasn't fishing in the phone. I would say if I was, but that's another thing. This whole obsession with people going through their partner's phones, it's such a red flag. I think if you need to go through your partner's phone, you need to be really seriously considering that relationship.
That's what I do agree with that, because I've never looked through anyone's phone.
It's such a betrayal of trust.
I have had exes look through mine, and I just think,
it's a hard no for me.
Yeah.
Hard no. I think there's a real trend around that. And people seem to have even normalised I went through his phone, or I went through... Would you go through it's so personal. It's such a personal space, like a handbag, like a wallet, like someone's laptop and emails. It is such I always question someone the status of where they are, that they feel they need to do that. But going back to the ex, I didn't go through his phone. I'd say it was, but I saw it flashed up, and a message flashed up, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, it was at night time, and the phone was on the bedside table, and I don't know what made me look at it. I think possibly thinking it's a bit weird. I don't know what made me look at it, but I was getting up, going to the loo, and I just saw it, and I saw from a woman that I didn't know a name, the words were shady. It was just like, I really miss and love you too, or something. Right, I know.
I'd have to wake him up and say, listen here, you prick.
I did. Yeah, I did. And I just said, I'm really sorry to ask. No, I'm sorry to ask this. What is that? I remember at the time, like, ooh.
Oh no, don't, I feel sick.
Yeah, I know. And it was an old friend, an old childhood friend. He'd been having a bit of a bad time. I suppose actually, I didn't think we were having a bad time at all as a relationship. This is years ago I'm talking about. But, I think in a moment of nostalgia, he'd obviously, they'd been in touch, and he'd obviously just had a moment of nostalgia of like, whimsical, what if I'd gone down that path sort of thing. And I do believe it was innocent, but it destroyed. That was the beginning of the end of our relationship, actually. I remember just thinking, oh my God. Like,
no, because then you start questioning everything. Like, where is he? What's he doing?
Everything. Who else is he messaging? And then that is where you start to become...
insecure.
Exactly. And I think going back to my marriage now, Are we perfect? Hell no. Have we worked? Oh, yeah, my husband and I have been in couples therapy on and off for 10 years. I mean, we love a bit of couples therapy.
It? Like, just for couples
we
generally?
Love it. Oh my God, it's the best thing for couples. I know Paul, as in my Paul Brunson, he's a big advocate of it. You know, so many, and this is the thing, you know, don't think that coaches or therapists don't have therapy. We are the biggest advocates of it. Yeah. There's no shame, there is no stigma, there certainly shouldn't be around it. Oh my God, there is nothing better than going into couples therapy. And especially, like I say, my husband and I, we're strong personalities as well. And we've learned there's no point being right, but we've still tried to be. But going in with a professional mediator, professional therapist who literally nails your ass to the wall. And I love it.
I think this is the thing, because I think also...
That's why I nail people's asses to the wall.
But I think people need that, because I'm all for the whole we'll agree to disagree thing. But then that leaves like a bit of taste in your mouth, really, because underneath you're going, oh, it's my fucking point. But actually, if you're there with a therapist, they can tell you.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes, as you say, I think it is good to get to a point of compromise, agree to disagree, and pick your battles is a big one when it comes to relationships. You know, do you want to be right, or do you just want to be happy? Really find that. But gosh, sometimes going into a therapy session, and we haven't had couples therapy for a long time actually, but we bloody love it when we do. And guys, what's going, and what do you want to talk about? And whatever, we never know what's going to come up, and sometimes there have been a few challenges that we have particularly wanted to talk about. But it's brilliant. And then, and quite honest, and I'm going to be totally honest with you, I'm going to be vulnerable. Sometimes I think, I know, because I know what I'm talking about, because I do this. Yeah, because I do this. There is nothing better. As I say, to be, what's the saying? A wise man, a fool knows everything, a wise man knows nothing, or knows he knows nothing. And it really is that. It's like, who the hell do I think I am? I love nothing more than being slapped back into place. And when you have someone, and I'll, perhaps say something, and then to be challenged on that and held accountable, you just said that, did you? And I'm like... Okay. There's room for movement there. There's room for thought. And it's all, honestly, we always feel better having come out of a session, and it just blows away the cobwebs.
Does it? Yeah. Rather than leaving being irritated with each other.
Yeah, it blows away the cobwebs. It really does. And it's always productive. And this is what's so important. I always say to couples, even whether you're staying together or you're breaking up, going back to the affair podcast, couples that have come through it and they've done the work, they've done the therapy, but equally couples that have gone through therapy, it's just as important to do that if you're breaking up, to get rid of all of the shit.
I think Paul mentioned this to me, because I think when I was going through a breakup with Tristan about having a breakup therapy, obviously there was no point, but that's an interesting
breakup therapy is really important.
Do you think it's actually what eases breakups more, just helps them not be so...
Absolutely, and especially if you've got kids, because that relationship's going to continue. Yeah. And co-parenting is really hard, particularly if you hate each other, or you've got so much unresolved emotion around that. Really bloody important. And I always say that to parents as well. It's really hard to be a grown-up when you're breaking up and you've got kids. Yeah. Really hard, but it's so goddamn important for the children. It really is so important for the children. But anybody, absolutely, to go through a breakup, and I'll be honest, even now, two breakups in particular, not the one I'm still friends with because he's fab, but that wasn't a breakup really. That was just a, you're nice, we're nice. We're now friends. Exactly. But two in particular, this was sort of before I'd gone into the world of therapy and coaching. Yeah, I'd have loved to have had those sort of final chats just to purge the feelings, let them purge back and stop the what ifs, because with one of the relationships, the one that, messaged the nostalgic friend, it just ended in a very, we broke up, it was really painful. He couldn't bear to even know I existed anymore. It was too painful, so just sort of blocked everything of me forevermore. Because you almost
have to pretend the person's died, because I was going to ask you on this.
Yeah, he did. I think he pretended I died, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you believe in closure? Because it's a really hard one. You do believe in it, okay.
Well, I think closure is quite pressured to get to a point of closure. Because, again, life's not that linear, do I have closure on being in an abusive relationship? Well, probably.
Would you want it?
Well, I have closure in a sense that I've processed it. I have closure on the relationship. I don't have any negative emotions that impact my now. So I guess I have closure on it. But do I feel very strongly, and do I feel a little tingle every time someone DMs me or speaks to me about being in an abusive relationship, yeah, I do. You know, going back to Celebs Go Dating last year, as we had Jamelia in, and I very rarely step out when I've got therapist hat on. I'm sort of in a headspace where I'm empathetic, but you know, one of the main parts of training is you don't shed your tears for your clients. You know, you don't, and I don't. But I'm also human, and she started talking about being in abusive relationships, which really rang true to mine. And I realised, and it was only in a session with her that I realised when she was talking that the song that she'd written called "Thank You," "Every last move you make me," I listened to that song when I'd come out of an abusive relationship, and she wrote it. Same for her, and it suddenly it did something to me, and I got really emotional. And because it happened at the same time, she thanked us for our help. It was when she was leaving. She'd done some great work on the show, and she thanked us. And I remember I got a lump in my throat, and I said, you know what, I'm going to have to step out. I've been holding this in for 3 months on the show, but I want to thank you because actually you really helped me when I was going through that breakup. So I can't remember where I was going with this, but
no, the closure.
Closure, yeah. So I guess yes, closure, but I think also it's like grieving. You never stop grieving. Some people do, some people don't. But I think, and it's like people always say, you know, because I have a generalised anxiety disorder, mental health. Are you cured from mental health? No one's cured from these things. You just learn to manage it. You just learn to reframe it. You learn to sit with it in a different way or sit with it in a distance way. Yes, I've been in a coercive, controlling relationship. It was very shit, but actually it gave me so much too. It gave me a whole new career and a whole new perspective. I have closure on that relationship in that it's been and done.
What would your advice be to anyone listening who is in one of those relationships?
Speak up. It's the whole coercive, controlling relationships are fester on silence and secrecy and minimising you, making you small. Trust someone, anyone, to reach out and tell them what's going on for you, even if, because I know you'll be feeling like you're going crazy, that it's your problem, it's your fault, because that's part of the game.
Whole thing, because I think
that's
some
part
people
of the trauma bond.
Not realise that they're actually in it.
No, when you're in the eye of the storm, I didn't know. I had no idea. I was in my early 20s. I was in the eye of the storm. I'd never been in a bad relationship. And I didn't know. All I knew is that this guy scared me. And I trod on eggshells. I started to question everything I did, question everything I thought, everything I wore, because he would tell me. Gradually pulled me away from my family. Gradually, you know, all of these things are very, very, it's all part of it. It's the love bombing. Mine was very, very indicative of toxic relationship, trauma bonding, you know, all that love bombing, you know, fancy dinners, you're beautiful, you're amazing, you know, great sex, you know, all of that. Oh my God, I'm like, yeah, bowled over. But then very quickly the screws are in. Oh, actually my flat's up, my rent's up on my flat. Could I move in for a bit? You know, do you mind whilst I'm in between flats? And then never moved out, you know, then wondering where I'm off to. Oh, could I borrow your credit card? You know, you know, what are you wearing that for? Oh, I didn't want to go out with a slut, you know, and then suddenly it starts to ramp up. Where are you going this weekend? I'm going to go and see my parents. Well, why don't you want to be with me? You clearly don't love me if you don't. That's how it all starts.
I'll be honest, the dating world is scary. Like, I know this sounds awful and everyone goes, oh, what were the red flags? Those red flags aren't that apparent a lot of the time. And then they sort of start getting waved a year in and you're like, well, hang on, where the fuck did that come from?
You know what I say is listen to your gut. It's really important to listen to your gut. Often we don't. Because we want to make things fit. We want to be, you know, and I was talking about this recently. I'm doing a lot of work around like fertility actually at the moment, and women having babies a lot later in life. Yeah. And it's great. There's so many more choices out there, you know, to have that more empowered choice. But also, I'm seeing a lot of people, women in particular, making rash decisions because they feel like pressure, society, body clock, biological clock, you know, if I meet this guy now, maybe 18 months, you know, and wanting to do it in a heterosexual relationship. I think
we really need to change this and work on it, because I know so many people
they're making
rushing
bad mistakes.
into things.
They're making big mistakes.
They then have a baby and then they're getting divorced, and it's like, well, hang on, and it's I think.
Or they're having a baby
mental.
with someone that's and let me tell you now, having a child, having a baby
does not fix things.
Does not fix things.
I keep, you know, I know I have this conversation so often because I'm 31 and actually it doesn't bother me. Like I want kids at some point. I'm in no fucking rush, to be honest with you. I'm not bothered about getting married. I enjoy fucking working. I love doing this. I love meeting people. Like I really have no interest in changing nappies. And I hear some people the same age as me thinking it's almost as if their world is over. This whole thing of wanting to be married by 27 and then you pop the first one out by 30. What is it? Like everyone, we need to set the tone for younger girls to not prioritise that. That is not also the end goal in life.
No, I mean, it might be for some.
Yeah.
I mean, some people do want to have a relationship, but I think it's prioritizing that for the right reasons. You know, I do have some friends that prioritize having a family as opposed to a career, and then the other way around. And some people now get, shamed for prioritizing marriage and kids as opposed to a career because they're like, we're women now, we should be having careers. How trad wife of you to be, having kids. But I think that's brilliant if that's your choice too, and absolutely unapologetically own that. But I think what it comes down to is the pressure and asking yourself, where are you feeling that pressure? I know people that are different, for different cultural reasons are feeling pressure to have children because the families want it. There's a pressure expected on them, but actually they don't really want to. And they're doing it because they're reaching their late 30s. They're thinking it's now or never. And I think it's really important to be really honest about what you want, why you want it, and also just being open to there being other options out there now. Lots more people are being, and I think we need to have this conversation more around fertility. I had lots of fertility tests actually because I was an older mum. I looked into egg freezing because I, like you, Liv, I was loving my career at early 30s. I didn't even, I knew I wanted children. It was a total deal breaker for me. It really was. But I didn't want to run the risk of, making a shit decision of having a child with somebody. I'd never really thought about doing it by myself. Would I have got to that point? Maybe. But I think it's amazing that we do have these choices available to us. And also lots of, I've got loads of same-sex friends as well, who are thinking about having children, how do I do that? But the problem is, not making the wrong decision in a partner to make a snap judgment just because you feel like you're running out of time. Yeah,
because I think also people forget it's for a lifetime. That child's not, going to feed itself. How do you juggle motherhood and your career?
A lot of coffee.
And therapy.
How do I juggle? So, well, that's a great question. I think for me, I do get asked it a lot. There's kind of a thing as well in this industry of mums that are doing what we do, that we're all like trying to like share tips. How are you doing it? How are you doing it? Are you okay? I don't know. How are you? Are you all right? I am very lucky that I have a very good support network. I have parents and in-laws who live nearby who are very helpful when it comes to children. I have a husband who... out of choice between us both, it was a choice that we're both freelancers, but we compromise around our work schedule so that one of us is always around for the children. I juggle it by making sure the kids are looked after first. They're the priority, first and foremost. Yeah. I don't really subscribe to the mum guilt. I don't think it really helps. But I assuage that by making sure the kids are taken care of first and foremost. Yeah. That they've got one of 5 of us that are there, so they're secure. Everything else then comes next. I would say lots of planning. My husband and I, it's very boring. We have a marriage meeting once a week, figuring out the diary, who's doing what. In fact, actually, he's fuming because this morning I forgot to tell him that it's bad communication. There she is. We're doing a Luana road trip in a couple of weeks, and I messaged him. I went, just so you know, I'm going to be gone first thing Friday, back late on Sunday. You might want to get your mum to. He was like, oh Jesus Christ! He was like, I've got them all weekend. Oh great! And I was like, yeah, don't forget all the drum lessons, the tennis lessons, everything else. A hell of a lot, bloody good communication, Liv. You've got to communicate with your partner if you're in a partnership. You've got to find the compromise. You've got to outsource that shit if you need to, and if you can. Hold my hand up. In the past we have, absolutely you had to have nannies to help us out.
What is all this crap against nannies? I don't understand.
There's so much crap against.
But people talk about it. Like, I think, so I had someone on here saying that they had a nanny. People went fucking mad about it. I was like, she's got to work. I mean, if you could afford one, just fucking, and if you want to work, I don't understand. I find it bizarre that people are so opinionated in other people's lives.
Well, there's a real stigma, I think, around that. There is a real stigma around nannies. Nobody says anything about nursery or daycare or a childminder, but funnily enough, having a nanny, there seems to be stigma. I'll be honest with you, I've done the maths, I've weighed it up, but having a nanny for 2 of my kids, as opposed to paying 2 sets of daycare, pretty much cancelled each other out. So when we had our nanny a couple of days a week, it was way better to have the same money and having her at our house with my kids.
Totally makes sense.
With their own their own staff. Yeah. Other than, forking out, 80 quid a day each child on daycare?
God, people need to fuck off.
But it was the same maths. I mean, genuinely, it was the same maths. If you're paying for 2 daycares at 78, doesn't matter, depending on where you live in the country. I live in the southeast, so it's bloody expensive. But you put that into one nanny, it was the same, if not cheaper. So that actually for us made financial sense.
And then you can still work and do your glorious podcast. So you fuckers should be grateful that Anna's got a nanny.
Yeah, but also our lovely nanny Becky, she doesn't work there anymore because my kids go to school. But it was brilliant. It worked for her because she was a single mum, had her child. She was doing Open University, so it was brilliant. She could be doing her studies at my house as well. But I mean, it worked for everybody. Yeah. So I mean, I would say you do. Look, I think again, you do you. But also, I would also say do your research. Because don't get me wrong, childcare is really expensive. Doesn't matter where you go for childcare, it's bloody expensive. Yes, I work. Yes, my husband works. But equally, that was a choice that we made. For the stability of our children, it just worked better for us. We happened to find a nanny who lived in our village who could come to us. Financially, it made better sense for us. But also, if we were trying to keep hold of our careers, I'm trying to keep hold of my career. I need to outsource childcare to help me with that, and I think we need to stop shaming childcare in whatever way you need it.
I think just generally shaming mums needs to stop. Puts me off having a child, to be honest with you. They're left, right and centre, these fuckers.
It's so hard being a parent, and I'm a huge, but also it's, you want your children to have the best. You want them to be secure and stable and to be loved. And, the facts are the facts. Most 2-parent families have to work now. It isn't a choice. Yeah. People think I'm on the telly, I do podcasts. They must think I'm stinking rich. I'm doing fine. Yeah. But, can I sit there, take the foot off the gas? No, I can't. And also, if I want to have a career in 5 years' time, when my kids, have, started to really fuck off, I have to keep,
doing it now.
Pedaling now.
No, I know.
And what comes with that is I do have to outsource. My kids are parented, 90% of the time by me and their dad. Yeah. But we need extra help. And I think I don't know where this weird shaming's come from in recent times around outsourcing for childcare.
But it's also still about some women going straight back to work after having a baby. There's people don't like that. Well,
I think...
Can we win in any way?
No, which is why I honestly say I went back to... So, in fact, I was with you. I was filming with you for Celebs. When I had Eleonora, my youngest, I went back to finish Celebs Go Dating when she was 5 weeks old. I was very lucky. I could take her with me for the last couple of days filming. And I bought our nanny at the time and my mum, it was a system to do it. And because I wanted to finish the series. Nobody made me, but I wanted to. I wasn't also going to get paid if I didn't finish because that's the job. No one forced me to do it. It was my choice. But I think this is it. It doesn't matter whether you take 5 years off and you're still breastfeeding your child when they're 5 years old, you're going to get shit for it. You go back to work at 3 weeks, and outsource childcare, you're going to get shit for it. Which is why I always say, unless your opinion's been asked for, shut up, mind your own opinion. We live in a world where everybody feels their opinion has to be heard. No, it doesn't. If you can't say anything nice, either shut up, scroll on by, or wait till it's asked for, which is why sometimes on the manor we take the piss that I'm a fence sitter. I'm not. I just don't feel my opinion's particularly valid in that moment. If that's not going to benefit anybody, in fact, if it's actually going to make that person feel a bit shit about themselves, why would I heap that crap onto someone else's shoulders when really they don't know me, I don't know them. I'm just going to be quiet. I'm just going to scroll on by. And I think that's why, going back to the you do you method, I'm just like, look, everybody is going to have an opinion. Everybody does, everybody will, everybody judges, because that is a human right. You don't have to listen to it. But at the end of the day, just take the noise with a pinch of salt and you do you.
What wonderful wise words from Anna Williamson. You do you. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for all of your words of advice. If anyone is struggling, who should they contact / talk to you in terms of therapists? Is it easy to do you have a...
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, there's loads of different places. You can go to BACPA, BACP, or you can go to the NCIP, which these are all resources and agencies where you can find a therapist, basically. Or, Samaritans, if you're really struggling. Mind for mental health. Relate is really good for marriage guidance. Or indeed the Relationship Place, which is my platform, little plug there. But that's where I've got loads of tangible advice for couples as well and singles.
And also, don't forget to listen to Luana, because their dilemmas are fucking offensive and really get me going. So thank you so much, Anna Williamson.
Yay! And side note, when are you coming back on Celebs Go Dating?
Sign me up.